What's up, guys? Welcome to Project Fishing. Bear with me because this is my first video that I've done for my channel, and today I'm going to make a mold for a part that I've been working on for my bass boat. I'm not going to reveal at this time what it's for, but I'm going to show you how to make a mold. Come right in here and I'll show you everything that I've got to start this process. What we're going to be using for this project is a hot glue gun, our clay, our silicone rubber making kit, a clay tool kit, my part that I'm going to be molding, and some corrugated plastic to make the box that I'm going to be pouring the silicone in. Alright, I've got my clay opened up, I've got my hot glue gun heated, and my part figured out of where I'm going to place this in the mold and where I'm going to place the clay, because I'm going to make this a two-piece mold. And so I'm going to cut this clay in half to try to get it to the depth that I want around this part, so it'll make a good parting line for a two-piece mold. Let's get that started, and I'll kind of show you what I'm doing in this process here. I'm just getting a knife, a little butter knife, and I'm going to cut this clay. Looks like about enough there. Right. Now we're going to set this down on my piece of plastic here. Put our part in, squish it down. Now we're going to use some tools, and we're going to kind of make a good seam line around this, so that way it makes a good clean parting line whenever we pour our half of our silicone mold. Trying to figure out which tool I think is best for doing this. Never done this before, so we're both learning. I'm gonna have to find something here in a little bit to in these holes here. I want these nice and square, so I'm gonna have to find something that'll fit in here later and get them nice and flat. But we'll work on the edges for now. So my goal here is to get this clay pushed up around this as cleanly and as smoothly as possible. So you see here where the gap starts. I've done this part, but I'm just going to work my way around this, and we'll probably put you on a time lapse so that way you don't have to watch me do this all day. So I've went around the edges and I tried to get it as clean as possible to get that part line. You don't want waves, and you just want to make it as neat as possible so that way your mold looks as professional as it can be. Not experienced at this, so this is my first attempt, and hopefully I'll get better in the future. It's just a tedious process. You just keep going around and trying to get it as even as you can. And so we're going to go ahead and go to the next step here. We're going to take and put our box together, and then we're going to, where the gaps are going to be, whenever we glue this to the side, there'll be a gap next to this plastic. So we're going to put some more clay in here and fill it up around the edges. Once we get that in, then we'll put our keys by taking a drill bit, and you'll do something like this, in case you're not able to see that inside the box. But you take the drill bit and you just twist it, and it'll make a little hole, a pretty clean hole, so that way whenever the silicone gets poured in, it'll go into this pocket here and make a little key for the other side of the mold. So it'll have a pocket on the other side, and whenever you demold it, those keys will fit back in those pockets, and it'll keep your mold aligned whenever you're trying to pour it. So let's get after it. Try not to glue it to the table. Something like that. And then we're going to take clay in here and we're going to make sure it's got a real nice seal on it. I'm going to go ahead and put some more hot glue around this and kind of get it a little bit more sealed, and then I'll be right back and we'll go into the clay. Alright, so we got it all glued up around the edges. Now we're going to get some clay, roll it into some snakes, and we're going to push it into these crevices and cracks around the edges to make a good seal. Getting everything into the corners here. Now we're going to start doing the edges. Now we're going to edges. Try to get these spots there. I think I'm pretty happy with that. So you see all my edges are sealed all the way around. Just trying to keep silicone from flowing out the mold. It's really the objective. Let's make some keyholes, and then This piece is just a piece of hot glue, and I'm going to hot glue this to the top to make the sprue for pouring in this. I just figured, why not? The hot glue gun's here, make a good sprue. Alright. I'm just going to work my way around this mold, making some keyholes for it. Alright, next step. We're going to mix up our silicone, and we're going to get it poured in here. Hopefully it turns out good. Almost forgot. I'm going to put the sprue on. Alright, here we go. Shabam. Part A, part B. Let's mix them together. And these are 1-to-1 ratio. I'm just going to kind of eyeball this. I'm going to get some mix cups, and I'll be right back, and we'll see if we can get this pretty close to the right amount to be pouring in here without wasting a bunch. Alright, I went ahead and got myself some cups, and I got these opened. We got our part A and our part B, and it says stir well before using. So we're going to stir it up, and we'll pour it in these cups. Look at the front of them, make sure that it's level, that it's even in both cups, and then we'll mix them together, and then we'll pour it on our mold. I got it pretty mixed up. I'm just hitting it on the table to try to get the air bubbles to the surface. Alright. We're going to start at one end. We're just going to pour it in. Wasn't planning on doing this, but I don't want it to be messed up. I have a pressure pot, and I think I'm going to put this in the pressure pot and try to shrink the air bubbles in this to make sure that I don't end up with a messed up mold. So let me get that set up and I'll show you how that works. Okay, so what we're looking at here is a central pneumatic 2.5 gallon pressure paint tank that I converted into a pressure pot. And I got this from Harbor Freight, and it's going to come in handy today. So I have here my air inlet from my air compressor on this side, and it has a cutoff valve. And then I have my pressure readout valve here, and here's your safety pop-off valve. So this is going to go on here, clamp it down, and then this is going to add pressure to this pot, and it's going to shrink all of these little micro bubbles inside this silicone mold here, and hopefully whenever it comes out you won't be able to see any bubbles at all. Let's get this together and put it under pressure. We got all of our clamps hooked on, got them tight, everything's locked down evenly. We're going to watch our pressure, and we're going to put this at 60 psi, and we're going to let it sit here until it cures. All right, we'll see you whenever it comes out. Before I open it, what do you think it turned out like? Put a comment down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Look at that. Looks pretty smooth to me. Yeah. Yeah. Buttery smooth. Let's crack her open and see what she looks like. That's where the sprue is. Push that through. Looks pretty clean. We'll get it cleaned up, placed back in our mold here. We'll have to peel all this clay out, set this back in, and we'll pour the second half. And I'll show you the next steps on that. Alright, so we got it all cleaned up. And the finish on this looks very, very nice. This doesn't matter, but this part right here is all that matters, and it's got a nice finish on it. No air bubbles. And this is the part. When I pulled the sprue off, it pulled some paint with it, but that's okay. So we're going to put this back together. We're going to get this cleaned up. We're going to seal our edges with some more clay, and then we're going to pour the second half. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Back up just a minute. I was thinking about this, and I didn't put a vent tube on this. So I'm going to show you a tool that I made, and let's hope that I can make a vent hole in this part as well. So I went in the kitchen, found a straw, metal straw, took it over to my belt sander, and I sharpened this edge here. So it'll be real sharp where I can punch right through this, and it'll take the core in the center and hopefully make a clean hole. We're going to put some oil on this, and let's see if we can cut a hole on this. And I think I'm going to put it somewhere around on this side, so that way, you know, it flows in and then it's forced out the vent tube. So let's see if this works. Put a little Vaseline on the end just to make sure that it slides through. I'm gonna put it right here. Seems like it worked pretty well to me. Look at that. Nice, clean core taken out of that. Now we have a vent hole. So there you go. If you want to make a tool to make a vent hole, get you an old straw, sharpen the edge, lube it, stick it right through, and you'll make a vent tube. Alright, so this is what we're going to use to lubricate this to keep from the silicone sticking to this side whenever we pour it to make the second half of the mold, because if you poured it without putting some kind of barrier or some kind of lubricant in between, it would just silicone itself all into one solid block. So that's no good. So this is what we're going to use. I'm going to use a little paintbrush to put it on the part, on the mold, not the part. Don't put it on the part, because you'll have like streaks and stuff in your part that aren't there in the part itself. It'll be from this. So we're going to put it on the mold itself around the edges, and let's get started. Make sure you take your time and get it on every little nook and cranny, because you don't want this welding together and having to pry it apart whenever you get done. You want it to come apart nice and easy and don't give you any problems. Looks pretty good to me. Got everything shiny. I think I'm going to add some to the edges as well, just in case there's any kind of spillover after we get this sealed around, just so that way I don't end up with some stuck on the sides. But we'll do that off camera. And I'm going to put this in here, and I'm going to work on getting the edges sealed, and then we'll be right back. Alright. Got all my edges sealed really well. I don't have any gaps. Got the part back in. So all I did was take that clay and put it up in the corners to make sure I didn't have any leaks. And also there was a little bit of a gap here, so I put some more clay there. And alright, let's go ahead and get our part B and part A mixed together again. We'll do about the same amount that we did before and pour it in, and then we'll move on to the next step. let's pour it in our mold. All right, we got our place in the pressure pot. Let's get our lid on. And add our air. I'll close our valve first because we don't want air going in right away. All right, let's watch our pressure up to 60 psi. Bam. All right, we'll see you back in 6 hours. For some reason there's like a little bit of a dent here, but I don't think that is a problem. But let's get it out and get it on the bench and take a closer look at it. Alright, the moment that we've all been waiting for. Let's see what's inside and how it came out. Alright, let's see if it comes apart. Whoop. That mold release is working very well. Look at that. Came apart beautifully. Great finish. The letters come out really, really nice. Still got to do some cleanup, you know, because there's little pieces of clay and stuff stuck on the edges, but man, that's beautiful. I'd say that's a success for our first mold. Both halves. Alright guys, I'm going to give you one more last look at it. Came out really, really nice. I'm very pleased with the results. And hey, I appreciate you guys watching. And like I said, this is my first video, so a whole lot of work went into this, so I would really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up and subscribed. I'm planning on making another video here soon on putting a cast into this mold here, and we'll see if we can reproduce the part that we put in it. So I'll see you guys on the next one. I appreciate you watching.